It's time now for the press review. Well, Rishi Sunak is Britain's new prime minister, and his political rise is dominating the international papers, unsurprisingly. Our press reviewer, Diptika Laurent, is here to take us through it.
That's right. Rishi Sunak, of course, is the third prime minister in 3 months. He's dominating all the front pages here. This is just a little snapshot of all the papers in the UK today talking about his rise to prime minister. It must be said they're not all saying the same thing, but you say here, for instance, The Guardian quoting Rishi Sunak, who told the Tory party that they must unite or die going forward. Similar comments from the Daily Express as well. We must unite or die and deliver for Britain. Indeed, there's a lot of pressure on his shoulders now as Brits wait to see what he's going to do to help ease that economic situation. For the Daily Mirror today, they're a lot more cynical in their front page coverage. They ask on their front page who actually voted for Rishi Sunak because, of course, he became prime minister sort of as de facto because his main rival couldn't garner enough votes. Yet another Tory taking power without winning a single vote. That's from the rather cynical front page of the Daily Mirror today.
So, Dipti, obviously Sunak's appointment is also historic for several different reasons.
That's right. Of course, he's the youngest prime minister in 200 years. He's the first British leader of color, a practicing Hindu, a teetotaler. The Daily Mail today on its front page calls it a new day, a new dawn for Britain. He becomes our youngest modern PM and the first with an Asian heritage. But the paper does remind the new prime minister that the Tories were, of course, elected on promises of, among other things, lower taxes, and that this must not change during his prime ministership. The Sun also picking up on the fact that Rishi Sunak is apparently a Star Wars fan, hence the Sun's headline today, "The Force is with you, Rishi," it says. He's also very wealthy, thanks in part to his previous work as an investment banker, but also his wife's family fortune. It's a fact that the cartoonist Steve Bell is picking up on today, a rather tongue-in-cheek cartoon here of Rishi Sunak meeting King Charles and King Charles telling him that one hears your wife is richer than one's mama.
All right, Dipti, what reaction have you found from the international papers then?
Well, a lot of jubilation in the Indian press, Aaron. Let's show you the Times of India today, which is headlining on Rishi Sunak's prime ministership here. UK rings in Rishi Raj on Diwali. The paper, of course, making note of the fact that his rise to prime minister came on the same day as Diwali yesterday, the biggest Hindu festival in the calendar for Indians. So the Times of India really noting also that color and race, for them at least, are no bar to success for British Indians who have historically faced racism and exclusion in British society. La Repubblica, that's the Italian daily. They're also going on their front, headlining on their front page. They say that Rishi Sunak is a son of India. He's gone a son of India who enters Downing Street now. While the New York Times also picking up once again on the symbolism of Sunak's political ascent that they say is a breakthrough for diversity, but the fact that he's extremely rich could also mean that this is sort of an isolating factor for him, or it could make him less relatable going forward.
So let's move along now. You found a fascinating article in The Independent today about a woman who was set on fire in a domestic violence dispute. Her testimony against her attacker was used posthumously in his trial. Can you tell us more?
Well, it's a long read in The Independent today, Aaron, but it's well worth the read. It's actually come back into the news because there's a new documentary that's just been released in theaters for a limited theatrical release. It looks at the plight of Judy Malinowski. She was a 31-year-old cancer survivor, an opiate addict, and mother of 2 in Ohio who was doused in gasoline and set alight in a gas station by the man she loved in 2015. She suffered burns to 80% to 90% of her body, and miraculously she managed to survive for 2 years after that attack. During that time, she found the courage to take precious testimony. It was used posthumously against her attacker in his conviction for killing her. He got a life in prison sentence, and it also, her testimony also helped sway state law to add 6 years to offenders who attack with accelerants. So her story, though little known, is horrific and heroic at the same time.
Finally, from you, Dipti, I'm excited about this one. A new study shows that cats are more responsive to baby talk than adult talk.
Well, it's part of this very, very serious new study, Erin, from French researchers at a Paris university who had the very enviable task, at least for you and I, of observing how 16 cats responded to adults talking to them as opposed to talking to other adults. And it turns out that cats respond very attentively to the calls of their owner, and that they're really susceptible to kitty talk. Think of it as like baby talk for cats. You know, the sort of sweet, sultry calls as opposed to the harsher commands. It sort of pours water on the perception that cats are standoffish and that they're fiercely independent. It turns out that they actually do need us after all, Erin.
That is such an important public service announcement for all the biases against cats out there. Dipti Laurent, thank you very much for bringing us that essential information about the importance of kitty talk.